I got out of here and moved over here, total change in my behavior. My first 10 years I spent trying to be something that I wasn't. And it's real good to understand what you don't do well. And I'll show you why I understand that. This is a marketing guy, probably one of the most important marketing theorists around, Shelby Honey, a real jerk. I mean, a real jerk. But he's good. He knows what he's doing. He's a real, he's contributed a lot in his career. We're about the same age. And then he came up with this. He wrote the premier theory book in marketing. And he is a theoretician. He's really quite good. He's just a jerk. But what he said was something that was almost heretical in the academic community. He said, the people that are really making the contributions are these people. Sits and observes and says, what the hell are they bringing Diet Coke on for? I did another project when I was in marketing called product recall. How do I get a product off the market when something's wrong with it? And I wrote the article 6 months before a Tylenol scare where somebody had messed with the Tylenol. How do you get it back off the market? How do you identify it? So it was observing what was going on, and then another person could sit back and say, well, if this happens, isn't there a causal relationship between these things? Just speculate and just say, well, I think this is what's going to happen. Okay, and then there's it just came to me, just like, and I've had things just come to me. And again, most of the time it's because I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm not paying any attention. I'm not playing on the computer Saturday morning. I'll just be sitting there and think, that's going to be important. Okay? And then the person that just dreams up ideas. And I have a friend like this, Mick McGill, who's one of the best thinkers I've ever met in my life. But Mick daydreams. And he writes mysteries. And that's how he clears his mind so he can think about things and dream up ideas that are good. And he was the guy that came up with unlearning, the learning organization. To change an organization, you don't change the people, you've got to change the culture by having it forget what got it to where it is and learn something that's going to be new. I'm working with trying to work with the Queensland Police. And what we're trying to do to them is say, look, the external environment is changing dramatically. You've got more drugs, you've got more gangs, you've got more violence, and it's turmoil. Look at New York, look at Chicago, look at LA. And what happens is that culture moves into your organization. And the police become overly aggressive and all the rest of it because they deal with that on a day-to-day basis. And we're saying, can you stop that from happening? Can you make sure that you don't internalize this toxic environment? So what Shelley was saying was, without these people, the people that are doing all the measurement have nothing to measure. They have nothing new. The biggest reason I got out of marketing, and I did 20 years ago, there was nothing new. No one was coming up with new ideas. And there was a reason for it. The journals in marketing, journal marketing research, journal consumer research, were turned over to a small group from India who were methodologists. And they took over, and they were really, really good. But the only thing they were good at was methodology. Okay, if you look at them on the chart, if you look at them on the chart up here, this is them. And they were really good. But they just kept measuring the same thing over and over again. Power in the channel of distribution, power in the channel of distribution. I wrote my dissertation in 1976. They're still talking about the same topic. Okay? They don't have many conceptualists who are sitting up here saying, here's what we should do, because where do I publish this? How do I get into A-level journals? Do you realize how stupid it is to break journals out by A, B, and C? It makes absolutely no sense. But your career is going to be based upon it. Why does it make any sense to break out A, B, and C journals? Take an A journal, Academy Management Review. Take any article in there. Look at the references that are quoted in that article. 50% of them will come from where? Academy Management, or the other 50% comes from journals that aren't the top journals. There's a very good article you should read. It says, if it's in an A journal, is it an A article? The answer is not necessarily. The hardest thing I have to publish all the time is the articles that I like, because no one else is going to like them. They're different. I'll show you in a minute why they're a problem, but they make people feel uncomfortable. And I talk about stuff and they go, we don't want to talk about that. That disrupts the whole thing. I feel right now, as I was talking to Griffith yesterday, that we're at an unbelievable juncture. And it's great to be a PhD student coming out at this time. We're at a juncture where we're moving from this to this. And that is significant change in the way we're going to do business. Globalization's here, it's not going away, it's going to be important, and what I say, which makes my colleagues very uncomfortable, this isn't going to work. It's literally abandoned, as Mick would say, unlearn what we've learned. Because this is a totally different animal. We used to say, well, we're going to just have continuous linear learning. And the answer is, I don't really think that happened before, but now I can tell you, we're going to have discontinuous learning. There's going to be a hole in what we're doing, and we're right at the hole right now. People are trying to figure out how to make this work, and there's a guy named Brass that came up with an idea of holes in the organization. And he said, put ladders across them so you can move over there. I think we should address the hole and say, this is totally different. Let's think differently. Let's do something different. In the United States, if I can use that as an example, we use expatriates all the time. Oh, they're great. We can rely on them. They're committed to everything else. They cost us 5 times as much as anybody else. They fail 40% of the time. And we still keep saying, that's a great idea. And oh, by the way, this is the issue that I talked about at downtown yesterday. This is a 3 to 5 year assignment. This is a 20 to 25 year assignment. Is there any difference in that? And the answer is, it's colossally different. We were sending people to Paris and London and Montreal, and we're sending people here to Bangladesh and India and China and Vietnam, and it's the stress and the problems associated with this is going to be so great that it's just not going to be possible to stretch what we know into what we need to know. Okay? So these people keep measuring the same thing. I call it putting your piece of sand on the beach. Okay, I have a friend that's retiring, one of the top researchers in the field of management. His name is John Slover. He was president of the Academy of Management. He was editor of Academy Management Review. John's my age. He said, I quit. I'm not going to do it anymore. And I said, John, what do you think you're going to be noted for, research-wise? Forget all this. He's a very well-known guy. He's got a book is in the 10th or 11th edition on fundamental to management. I said, what are you going to be noted for, John? And he sat there for about 10 minutes. He said, I don't know. Now, this is a guy that has 200 or 300 articles, and probably 150 of them are A-level journal articles. But what was he doing? Putting his piece of sand on the beach. And when you get to step back and look at the beach, it looks like sand. John's career looks like sand. He hasn't made one of these important contributions where you say, Bandura says social learning, and you figure out how people learn. Or Drucker says this is what you need. Those people had a significant impact doing this. Now, the problem with it isn't this one's better and this one's worse. They're communal. They work together. And if you don't have this one, which is the one that's so difficult to train people to do, all you're going to do is turn out what I call mechanics. People who can do research. Okay? There's an old saying about management. Managers do managers do things right. Leaders do the right things. What's the difference between them? Well, there's a process I follow, and that process is from here to here to here to here to here. And the leader says, let's think of a new way of doing this. This is totally different. Let's come up with something that's different. Let's think about this in a different fashion. Okay?